90 minutes from becoming the first team in this club's entire existence to reach back-to-back Champions League semi-finals. 90 minutes from silencing every critic who spent the weekend writing the obituary on this season. 90 minutes from sending a message so loud that it rattles the walls of the Etihad Stadium 4 days before we walk through those gates on Sunday. Welcome to James Arsenal Analysis. I'm James, and tomorrow we are all in. If you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button right now, because this is the place where we break everything down, where we call it straight, where we do not panic, but we also do not pretend. Hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more Gooners around the world. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a moment, and stay with me until the very end tomorrow, because I have a full tactical breakdown, a predicted lineup, individual player assessments, and my honest prediction for how this tie ends. Now, let us get into it. There is a version of tomorrow that every Arsenal supporter has been dreaming about since Kai Havertz ghosted into that space in Lisbon, controlled Gabriel Martinelli's perfectly weighted pass, and buried it past Rui Silva in the 91st minute to give us the most precious away goal you could possibly imagine, a 1-0 lead. Going home, the Emirates, under the lights, European football at its absolute finest. And then the weekend happened. Bournemouth came to North London on Saturday, and Arsenal lost 2-1. That is 3 defeats in their last 4 games across all competitions. 3. And if you had told any Gooner at the start of this season that Arsenal would be sitting top of the Premier League in April, in the Champions League quarterfinals, and still getting criticism thrown at them from every direction, they would have laughed at you. But that is the reality of following this football club in 2026. The expectation has risen to a level where even winning is not always enough, and when you drop points, you feel the ground shift beneath your feet. Here is what I want to say to every Arsenal supporter watching right now. I understand the anxiety. I feel it too. This club has been building towards something enormous for 3 seasons, and the fear of it slipping away again is real. It is not irrational. It comes from experience. But tomorrow is not about fear. Tomorrow is about seizing the moment that is right in front of us, because the historical context here is genuinely staggering. Arsenal have won 17 of their last 18 continental 2-legged ties when they have claimed an away victory in the first leg. 17 out of 18. That is not a stat that should make you nervous. That is a stat that should make you breathe. The numbers say this tie is ours to lose, not theirs to win. Beyond that, Arsenal have gone 8 home European games unbeaten against Portuguese opposition. 8 games, winning 6, drawing 2. The Emirates has been a fortress when Portuguese clubs have visited, and nothing about Sporting Lisbon's current trajectory suggests that changes tomorrow. And then there is the ultimate piece of context. Sporting CP have never in their entire European history overturned a 1-goal deficit after losing the first leg at home. Never. They have lost 13 of their last 14 2-legged European ties when they have suffered a home defeat in the opener. The one exception? A comeback against Brøndby in the Europa League qualifiers back in 2010. That is the company they are keeping when we talk about statistical anomalies. None of this means we sit back and assume the job is done. Football does not care about statistics when the ball is in play. But it does mean that the trajectory of history is firmly pointing in one direction, tomorrow. And that direction is the Emirates Stadium, reaching the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League for the 2nd consecutive year. Let us talk about the people who are going to be asked to make history tomorrow. Mikel Arteta has the most important team selection of this season to make in the next few hours. And the decisions he makes in the next 24 hours could define not just tomorrow, but the entire final month of this campaign. Because the injury situation at Arsenal right now is genuinely problematic, and I will not dress it up. This is a team carrying significant absences at an absolutely critical moment. Martin Odegaard is a doubt. The captain, the heartbeat, the man Arteta himself described as the one who connects everybody, who glides everybody together, who makes the team flow in a way nobody else can. He picked up a niggle in Lisbon after being substituted in the 70th minute, and he was absent from Saturday's squad entirely. The latest information suggests his issue is not of the most serious variety. He was seen arriving at the Emirates with the squad, which is a positive sign. But whether Arteta risks him from the start tomorrow is a genuine question. Bukayo Saka has not played since the EFL Cup final. Let that land for a second. One of the best wingers in world football has not featured in Arsenal's last 3 matches, and his return timetable remains frustratingly unclear. Arteta has been deliberately vague about the nature of the knock. tomorrow or Sunday's trip to Manchester City represent the most obvious windows for his return, but nothing has been confirmed, and any suggestion he starts tomorrow should be treated with caution until we hear differently from official channels. Riccardo Calafiori is also a doubt after missing Saturday's game against Bournemouth with an unexplained absence. He played the full 90 minutes in Lisbon the week before, so the fact that he was not even in the squad at the weekend raised real concerns. There has been no clear diagnosis from the club, and whether they are managing him carefully or dealing with something more significant, only Arteta'S pre-match briefing will clarify. Jurrien Timber has not been seen in Arsenal colours since March 14th. That is approaching a month without the Dutchman, who has been one of Arsenal's most reliable performers when fit this season. His status for tomorrow remains uncertain, and his absence has exposed a real vulnerability down the flanks. The one definite absentee is Mikel Merino. The Spanish midfielder had foot surgery in February and is in a race against the clock to return to action before the season ends and to put himself in contention for the World Cup this summer. His qualities would have been invaluable across these final weeks, and his absence has required real creativity in midfield selection. So what does the lineup look like? David Raya starts in goal. No question. The Spanish international was absolutely magnificent in the first leg in Lisbon. He made 5 saves, including a stunning fingertip stop that denied Maximiliano Araujo at a moment when the score was still 0-0. Araujo has been one of the best goalkeepers in the Champions League this season, and tomorrow he will be the last line of defence again. At the back, William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes are your centre-back pairing. That is non-negotiable. Those two have formed one of the most formidable defensive partnerships in European football, and Sporting know better than most how difficult they are to break down, because they tried for 90 minutes in Lisbon and found no way through. At right back, Ben White is expected to continue. At left back, assuming Calafiori and Timber are not ready, Piero Hincapié comes into the conversation. The Ecuadorian international was an unused substitute on Saturday after returning from the hamstring concern he picked up during the international break with his national team. He appears to be fit enough to play, and if Arteta decides he needs experience and physicality down that left side, Hincapié is the logical choice. In midfield, this is where the most significant selection call falls. Declan Rice is immovable. He always starts in games of this magnitude, and his physical presence, his ability to cover ground, and his attacking contributions from deep make him indispensable in a tie like this. Alongside Rice, the question is whether Arteta deploys Martin Zubimendi or Christian Norgard as the holding midfielder. Here is the context you need. Both Norgard and Zubimendi are 1 yellow card away from being suspended for the first leg of any potential Champions League semi-final. If either of them is booked tomorrow, they sit out the first game of the next round. That is an enormous risk. Arteta may well choose to start Norgard specifically to manage the situation around Zubimendi, resting the Spaniard while still having experienced cover. Norgard impressed when he came into the side earlier in the season and is more than capable of handling a European night at this level. In the attacking positions, Eberechi Eze returns. He came back from his own fitness issue in time to feature against Bournemouth and will almost certainly come back into the starting 11 tomorrow. Eze offers something different from anything else in Arsenal's attacking armoury. The directness, the creativity, the ability to unlock a low defensive block with a single moment of quality. Sporting will know about him, but knowing and stopping him are entirely different things. Leandro Trossard is expected to start on the opposite flank. The Belgian has been consistent and hard-working and provides Arteta with technical quality and pressing intensity in those wide areas. And then there is the man the entire occasion has been built around in terms of narrative. Victor Gyokeres leads the line. Stop for a moment and appreciate what tomorrow represents for the man wearing Arsenal's number 14 shirt. Less than 12 months ago, Victor Gyokeres was the most beloved footballer in Portugal. He scored 97 goals in 102 appearances for Sporting CP. 97, he won back-to-back Primeira Liga titles. He was their talisman, their match winner, the player who made everything function. And when Sporting's president sat across from Arsenal's sporting director, Andrea Berta, and eventually agreed to a deal worth £55 million guaranteed with further add-ons, there were genuine tears from Sporting supporters who understood that an era was ending. Now he walks out at the Emirates, wearing red and white, and Sporting have to try to stop him from eliminating them from the tournament he once lit up in their colours. I watched the build-up to the first leg in Lisbon closely. The reception he received from the Sporting faithful was extraordinary. These are supporters who adored him. They gave him an ovation. His former teammates were generous in what they said about him in the media. Maximiliano Araujo, who plays left-back for Sporting, spoke about how the whole squad was happy that Gyokeres had got his dream move to the Premier League, that nobody had any bitterness. And then they tried everything possible to keep Arsenal scoreless for 90 minutes, and they nearly did it. Tomorrow is the sequel. And tomorrow, Gyokeres is at home. He has scored 15 goals in all competitions this season in his debut Premier League campaign, 10 in the league. He has not always had it easy. The adaptation to a new league, new teammates, different defensive structures has taken time. Arteta himself has spoken about the need to build understanding and chemistry over months rather than weeks. But the goals have come consistently enough to confirm what Arsenal supporters believed when they signed him. That this man has elite goal-scoring instincts that no amount of tactical adjustment can permanently suppress. Tomorrow, against the club he left, the pressure is immense, and great players respond to that pressure. Now, let me tell you something important, because this is where I think a lot of Arsenal fans are making a mistake heading in tomorrow. Sporting Lisbon are genuinely dangerous. I know the aggregate score is in our favour. I know the historical record says they cannot overturn this, but that Sporting side that played us in Lisbon created real chances. They tested David Raya on multiple occasions. Luis Suarez led the line with aggression and intelligence. They pressed with intensity, and their transitions from defence to attack were quick and purposeful. Rui Borges has built a team that functions with real cohesion. They are second in the Premier League, chasing Porto right to the final weeks of the season. They have beaten Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League this season. They came back from 3 goals down against Bodo Glimt in the round of 16, winning 5-0 on the night to go through on aggregate. This is a group of players who know how to respond when their backs are against the wall. And crucially, the man who anchors everything they do in midfield is back tomorrow. Morten Hjulmand, the Danish captain. He missed the first leg in Lisbon through suspension after accumulating bookings during the competition. His absence was significant. He is the organising force in Sporting's engine room, the physical presence who covers ground and protects the defence. With him absent, Rui Borges had to use Hidemasa Morita and João Simões in the middle of the park, and while they functioned adequately, the team was not the same. Tomorrow, Hjulmand is back. That strengthens Sporting considerably. Do not underestimate the difference a fit and focused Morten Hjulmand makes to this Sporting side. He set standards at Brentford before his move to Portugal. He is a top-level European midfielder, and Arsenal's attackers are going to feel his presence. Alongside him, Daniel Braganca is likely to start. The vice-captain scored the goal that beat Estrela Amadora last weekend and has been one of Sporting's most important players all season. He provides technical quality, press resistance, and the ability to switch the point of attack quickly. Going forward, Francisco Trincão remains a genuine threat. The Portuguese winger has pace, unpredictability, and the confidence of a player in form. Pedro Gonçalves offers goal threat and has that European pedigree that Arsenal supporters are all too familiar with from the 2022 to 23 Europa League. And on the right, Jenny Katamo's energy and directness down the channel will cause Arsenal's left-back real problems if they are not switched on from minute 1. And then there is Luis Suarez. Let me clarify something for anyone who only caught half the story this past week. Luis Suarez is not the Uruguayan legend from Barcelona and Liverpool. This is Luis Javier Suarez, 26 years old, Colombian international, a player who signed for Sporting last summer to fill the enormous gap left by Victor Gyokeres, and who has done so in remarkable fashion. 33 goals in 43 appearances this season. 5 goals in the Champions League campaign, including a brace against Paris Saint-Germain. There was huge confusion after the first leg when broadcast graphics and official records appeared to show Suarez had been booked, which would have triggered a 1-game suspension. UEFA investigated and confirmed it was an administrative error. The yellow card was actually issued to Hidemasa Morita. So Luis Suarez is available tomorrow, and Rui Borges has his main striker leading the line. That matters. For Ioannidis, who signed from Panathinaikos for €22 million last summer, is out with a ligament injury. Luis Guilherme, the Brazilian winger who came to Sporting having previously been at West Ham, is absent with an ankle problem. But Suarez is available, Trincão is available, Gonçalves is available, and Sporting have enough attacking quality to cause genuine problems if Arsenal are not at their defensive best. What does tomorrow actually look like in football terms? Sporting need to score. They know that. A goalless draw is enough for Arsenal. And Rui Borges will have to send his team forward with urgency from the first whistle. That is the fundamental dynamic that shapes everything. When teams need to attack you in European football and commit numbers forward, space opens up behind them. This is the opportunity Arsenal need to exploit. Gyokeres thrives in those conditions, running channels against exposed defences. Trossard and Eze are sharp enough to punish transitions. Declan Rice is experienced enough to identify those moments and release the ball at exactly the right time. Arsenal's challenge is to maintain their defensive shape, not to be drawn into an open game that plays to Sporting's strength, while remaining a threat on the counter. If they can stay tight for the first 30 minutes and prevent Sporting from finding the momentum that a quick goal would generate, the crowd at the Emirates, which will be an exceptional voice tomorrow, becomes a factor in the Gunners' favour rather than a driver of anxiety. If Sporting do get an early goal, that changes everything. The noise level shifts, the tempo shifts. Arteta will need his players mentally prepared for every scenario, not just the comfortable one. The other key tactical element is set pieces. Both clubs scored from dead ball situations in their European campaigns this season. Gabriel Magalhaes is an aerial threat at both ends. Ousmane Diomande and Goncalo Inacio are physical presences that Arsenal's attackers need to be aware of at set pieces going the other way. I need to address the elephant in the room because I would not be doing my job if I did not. Arsenal are fighting on two fronts this week. Wednesday night at the Emirates in the Champions League. Sunday afternoon at the Etihad in the Premier League. Manchester City cut the gap at the top of the table to 6 points with a game in hand after the defeat to Bournemouth on Saturday. 6 points with a game in hand for Pep Guardiola's side. The title race is not over, but it has become considerably tighter in the space of one afternoon. Sunday's game at the Etihad is now a moment that could define everything about this season. Win it, and the momentum swings back decisively. Lose it, and the questions that Arsenal supporters have feared all season start to become unavoidable. But here is my honest view. Tomorrow is separate. Tomorrow needs to be treated as its own entity, its own challenge, with its own reward. And that reward is enormous. A Champions League semi-final in consecutive seasons for the first time in Arsenal's history. That is legacy. That is something this squad and this manager can hold on to, regardless of what happens between now and the end of May. Progression tomorrow will not win the league, but it will do something arguably more important at this specific moment in time. It will demonstrate to every player in that dressing room that this group is capable of rising to the biggest occasions, that they can perform under pressure when it is at its most intense, and that the belief which carried them through the autumn is still alive and functioning when it matters most. Psychologically, a confident Champions League semi-final performance to look forward to before the Man City game could be exactly the galvanizing force this squad needs. Players who know they are still competing for the greatest prize in European club football tend to carry themselves differently. There is a pride in it, a confidence that nothing else quite replicates. Mikel Arteta understands this better than anyone. He has been building toward exactly this kind of week throughout his entire tenure at this football club. Here is where I land. After all of the analysis, all of the research, all of the thinking, I believe Arsenal go through tomorrow. I do not think it will be comfortable. I do not think Sporting will come to the Emirates to make up the numbers. Rui Borges is too good a manager and his players are too committed to roll over on a night like this. There will be moments of genuine pressure. There will be spells when Sporting find their rhythm and push Arsenal back. But I believe in David Raya's ability to make the saves when they are required. I believe in William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes as one of the finest centre-back partnerships in European football right now. I believe that Gyokeres on this night at this stadium against this particular opponent finds a way to make his mark. My prediction is Arsenal 1, Sporting Lisbon 1, 2-1 on aggregate, Arsenal progress. A Sporting goal that makes it briefly nervous, a crowd that responds, and a moment of quality from a gunner that puts the tie to bed. That is the script I am writing for tomorrow. Whether football follows it is entirely another matter, but the foundations are there, the history is there, the squad, even with its injury challenges, has enough quality to see this through. Now here is what I want from every single one of you watching tomorrow. Get to that stadium if you have a ticket and make the noise of your lives. If you are watching at home, you know where to come straight after the final whistle. The full analysis, the reaction, everything you need, right here on James Arsenal Analysis. We are 90 minutes from history, people. Let us go and make it. Subscribe if you have not already. Drop your score predictions in the comments right now. I read every single one. Hit the like button. Share this video with every Arsenal supporter you know tomorrow. And turn those notifications on so that when I go live with the post-match reaction, the moment the referee blows his whistle, you are here with me. I am James. This is James Arsenal Analysis. Come on, you Gunners.